I actually tried to record yesterday's too because I wanted you to see me make her face. And I had major technical difficulties yesterday. My computer wasn't charging, and then my webcam kept crashing. And whenever my webcam crashed, my QuickTime video crashed. So I really didn't get any good footage yesterday of what I did. But I can make the face from the little baby today, so you can see that. But I want you to look, everyone look at the screen for a second. I want you to look at her face. So I actually did a lot of carving on her face. See if I can focus it. And I carved out her eye sockets, and I added the eyeballs. I added eyelids on the top and the bottom. I added nostrils, and then I carved out a space for her mouth so that it looks open. And then I added an upper lip, a lower lip, the 2 ears, and then I added more hair that looks like the leaves on the trees. I also added her arms, so I added one behind the fox, kind of sort of holding the back of the fox's body, and then the other arm I added kind of drapes across the baby's chest, and then the baby's arm drapes across her arm, and then the other arm is sitting on her leg there. So everything at this point is added. So now I think this is kind of this is my favorite part of working, is adding all the little details in the texture and carving away at it and making it really look really refined. And this is where you can add some clothes. You want to add the facial features, any details in terms of texture, carving away, making things look like different things. Like I could make this pedestal look like rocks, or a slab of concrete, or water, or whatever I want, because it's thick enough that I can carve into it. I'm going to really be refining like the separation between her body and the trees and the foxes in the base. I'll probably go in and do a lot of carving and texturizing of the leaves up here. I need to add a little bit of hair and details to the child. I think I was going to add a little clothes to the baby, but keep her nude. And then maybe even some more details on the fox's face, like I'd add some eyes and maybe making the face a little bit more detailed. So that's what I'm going to be working on today. I'm going to start with the baby's face so that you guys can learn how to make facial features. So the first thing you want to do is start to carve away at it and really kind of get rid of this big chunky part. Like you don't need big brows, and the bridge of the nose can be carved down quite a bit. Helps to look at examples. So maybe have a baby's face pulled up or a human's face pulled up. One thing I wanted to talk to you guys about, that after looking at a lot of your pieces, I am noticing that there are a good number of pieces that are not human proportion, that they look more like cartoons. So I just want to remind you that part of this assignment is to learn how to sculpt the human form in proportion. So I am going to be looking for that in your finished pieces, and you will be graded on that as well. So now is the time, while the clay is still wet, to really, have a real moment with yourself and say, is this figure really in proportion? Did I really take time to look at the human form and make sure that my torso matches with my leg length and my arm length and my head size, and did I really put strong effort into that? Because that's part of what we're learning with this project, is how to sculpt the human form in 3D. And I'm really happy to help you with that too. If you need me to look at your piece and give you some pointers on how to make improvements, please show me. You can just put it in the WIP discussion board, and I can open it up and give you some feedback. I don't even have to do that in front of everybody. If you want just like a written feedback, I'm happy to do that. So the stage that you want to start carving your piece, your clay should be wet, but like wet enough to kind of flake off in little chunks. As it flakes off, it's handy to have a dry brush with you so that you can kind of brush off these pieces as you carve. I would not wait until the end of the day to brush these off because they're going to get really, there's going to be a lot of chunks on there, and then they're going to start to stick together and be harder and harder to brush off. And you might even eventually have to carve those off again because they'll get stuck. So as you're carving, if it's too wet, your clay isn't going to flake off. It's just going to stick to your tool. If that's happening, you want to let your piece dry a little bit more because it will be frustrating and it'll take you forever. All right, as you're working on your little face here, look at the profile as well as the front. Try to make it look as human as possible. You can carve away and you can add. Like I always neglect the chin, and at the end of sculpting the face I always have to add chin. I don't know why. I was telling the last class that I've been sculpting this figures for a long time in my ceramics career and in grad school. Before I kind of went off in another direction of installation art, I was specifically making figurines, undergrad and grad school. Lots and lots of figurines, very gestural, expressive figurines. And when I look back at them, because I have photos of all of them, they look very, they all look like they're in the same family. They're very familiar, their facial features. So it's just interesting how that happens as we're painting and drawing the face and the human form. It kind of they look like us in a way. They're sort of like alter egos or alter egos. Or in the very least, they look related to each other. Which you guys will discover as you continue. If you keep drawing the figure, sculpting the figure, you'll find that you do the same thing. And I'm going to want to carve on her body as well, really kind of refine her body. But for now, I'm just working on this little guy's face. I'm taking quite a bit of time here to carve away at it. I think his nose is just too big, but I don't want to get too aggressive with it because I don't want it to break off. Remember too, if you're sculpting a child, their proportions are different than an adult proportion. Their heads are bigger, and their eyes are bigger, and their little noses are smaller. So I'm really trying to kind of make this nose really tiny. And then this brow, pay attention to how much clay you have on the brow. I'm going to have to carve that down. Getting close. I'm going to brush away that excess. Trying to think of other things that were in the Ai Weiwei exhibit. In one space, there was beautiful, beautiful Chinese dragon, fabric and paper dragon that stretched out the length of the building. And each part of the body was constructed and made by citizens, Chinese citizens. And each one had a peace symbol, some type of symbol of peace, and then quotes about peace. Thought that was really beautiful. Another part of the, whoever is a musician in this class might appreciate this. There's a section of the prison cells. You went into each cell and there was politically active music playing from all over the world in each cell. That was awesome. There was a ceramic piece. It was in one of the bathrooms, and it was a porcelain toilet but it had all these beautiful porcelain flowers sculpted all over it. In another room, you walk into this, I think it was one of the holding cells, and you hear Tibetan monks singing. So it was probably, I'd say, is probably the most powerful work of art that I've ever seen in my life. The whole thing, the whole experience. And Alcatraz is already, an intense place. I don't know if you've ever been, but there's so much history there. I don't know if you guys know this, but there's even a history of, I think it's in the 70s that a group of Native American people invaded the island and wanted to take it over and turn it into a school, a Native American school. So it was kind of like a protest in a way. And so if you go to Alcatraz, you can see in the museum section, you can see some history and photos of that. Of course, government didn't allow that to happen, which is kind of sad because I think that would have been amazing to have a Native American school on the island of Alcatraz instead of it just being a place where you could walk through and hear about people being locked up. Okay. So he just has a basic structure to his face now. I'm going to go in and make his eyes detail. So I'm going to take this needle tool. You can take whatever tool you have. I'm going to actually poke a hole in his eye and kind of twirl it around and then sort of angle it out so it's sort of almond shaped. Now I'm making a space where I can put an eyeball. So it's like I'm carving out a socket more. So it's going to be fairly large for the proportion of his face. And I want to see these details. I'm going to be expecting these details in your piece. I'm teaching you this for a reason. I'm demonstrating this for a reason. I want to see it in your piece. Okay, so now I'm going to go through and kind of define where I want his nose to be and carve away at it a little bit. So not everybody is a political artist, obviously. Some people make art for different reasons. I found in high school I did a little bit of political art, but it's not really my nature to use art to express my political views. I'm more of an introspective artist. I like to talk about things, psychology of things, and nature and human relationships and stuff. That's the kind of art that I like to make. I'm going to grab a little bit of wet clay and I'm going to create some eyeballs. And score. It gets harder when you're making a tiny little baby face. It was easier to do her face. His face is going to be a little bit of a challenge, especially the eyelids. So we scored inside, and now I'm putting a little bit of water. And then I'm just going to take the tiniest little bit of clay and do my best to roll it into an eyeball and just drop it right in that socket. I might need to take a tool and kind of put it where I want it to be. Don't worry about attaching it. You're going to use your eyelids to attach it. You can see that one eyeball in there. What? This one's too big. Break it down. Alright, now I'm going to score the lids. Just a little bit of water around the edge. I'm going to roll out these tiny, tiny little baby coil. And I'm going to drop it above his eye. And it's going to overlap his eyeball because you want to see the whole eyeball. And then I'll take this tool and I'll cut that off. And very delicately just attach the top part with the tool. And I'm going to do the same for the bottom. I wish I had a zoom focus on my webcam. I need to really invest in a much nicer webcam than this one. Or I could use my Nikon, but it's too important to me. I don't want to use it for school every day. Okay, so I added a top and bottom lid to that one eye, so you can see it looks a lot smaller. I just got a message saying my internet. Oh, thank you, Marilena. I don't know if you're talking about my piece, but
I was.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. I just realized after I thanked you that you might not have even been talking to me. I just got a message saying my internet was unstable. So if for any reason I disappear, you guys, class is not over. I will come back. Just, give me a second and I'll re-log in. And you'll have to rejoin the meetup. So as you can see when I put it on there, let's see if I can hold it up to the webcam. It looks bigger than it is, the lid, but then I just take my tool and kind of smooth out the part that I don't want to be thick. Smooth it right into the face. Okay. I poked my needle tool into the nostrils to create the nostrils, and just realized I never added eyebrows to my lady here. She needs some eyebrows. I'm gonna add some actual like leafy furry eyebrows here. She's definitely not manicured. She's part of Mother Nature here. I was thinking about in Sika the other day. I was telling you guys that there's going to be a 2021, actually it would be 2022 in Sika next year, which is the National Clay Conference. Happens every year in a different city, and next year it's set to happen in Sacramento. It happens in April, May. So I'm really hoping that we have some type of resolution to this COVID lockdown safety so that we can go to it. And then it's not a virtual event. Okay, so I just added her eyebrows and then I just kind of stippled them. Just kind of poked into them until they became textured. She has sort of a whimsical look on her face that I like. Like she's whistling and the wind is coming out. I'm going to put two. You'll see this in classic Greek sculptures. Because it's a carving and there's not necessarily any paint on it, to give the eye some detail, you'll see that there's a sort of a circle carved around the pupil and then an actual hole where you would see the light reflection. So you can do the same thing. Give her eyes some life. I'll do the same with this guy. Careful not to push too hard, because remember those eyeballs are not secured in there. Try to put the dots kind of in the same location so that it doesn't look like they're looking two different directions. Okay, so how do you do the mouth? Well, you want to first kind of create an opening. So I'll just take a tiny tool and I'll just actually push in and open up the mouth first. And then I'm going to add the upper and bottom lip as separate pieces of clay. So that's not enough to create a mouth, to just open it like that. You want to create the upper lip dimension and the chin, even on the baby. The eyes and the nose and the mouth can really give you a lot of gesture and expression. So for the upper lip, I take a little coil, and I wish that this camera would focus, autofocus, it doesn't. And I squeeze the top part of it. And then the bottom part that's still thick is the upper lip. And when I say upper lip, I don't just mean your lip. I mean this whole part of your lip. This is your upper lip, this triangle section above your lips. You're adding that whole piece. I shared with you guys, I think I shared with you guys a Tiptoeing video at one point. She talks a lot about this. So at first it's going to look like a little baby mustache, which is funny. But you're going to take a tool and you're going to smooth it out up here. It's just dimension. You can even put a little crease in the upper lip if you want. And then of course that little indentation right above the lip. And then the same for the bottom lip, and that can actually be more because you can turn it into the chin. So it's three things. It's chin, lower lip, and lip. I'll probably carve away at that. It feels too big, but I'm going to put it on anyways and then carve away at it. So right now it looks kind of like he's got a goatee, but I'll take some of that clay away. Or maybe just kind of tuck it under the chin and smooth it out. And I'm going to open that mouth up again. I might stick my tool in there and just kind of part the lips a little bit. He has the same expression that she does, so it's funny. See what I mean? They look related. They didn't even try. It just happened. Alright, so I'm going to take my paintbrush, very delicately smooth out some of this face and all the additions. You don't want to be too aggressive about this on the tiny faces or you will completely obliterate your detail. Just using the very tip of this brush. Now I've got to add ears and hair. I don't want to add too much hair because I just maybe like a little wisp at the top. That's the size of this baby. This doesn't look like a baby to me. This looks like a toddler or like a 2-year-old, 3-year-old size. I could have made him smaller. I'm gonna add a little bit of neck here. So now I want to start really refining and looking at the form of my figure. When I look at his chest and these arms, this arm doesn't look right to me. I think I need to do some major carving and add this elbow and change the anatomy of that arm. So at this point, you can carve away and you can add. That's how you refine. And it really does help to look at a photo or picture of a real figure. In fact, I might even pull up one. Well, let me see if I might have a picture of my son I could use. Yeah, here, I'll show you guys. I'll use this picture. He has a bat on his head. That's perfect, actually, because you can see his upper body in this one. So yeah, definitely have to add a little bit of clay to the shoulders. Not this one, but this one. So when you're working this tiny, I just recommend that you score one section, and then you can, as long as your clay is pretty wet and you're really smoothing it on there, you can kind of get away with not scoring both pieces. I shouldn't even say that out loud to you, but it's true, so just got to make sure you're using it the right way. So now, yeah, now that I'm looking at this photo, I can really see where I need to add more clay to make it more realistic, and then carve away some armpits here. I think maybe I'll leave his top no clothes on top, and then give him some type of diaper or something at the, or shorts or pants or something at the bottom. So you guys are going to have to use your bigger loop tool, which is, I know, a little bit harder when you're doing details, unless you've purchased your own clay tools. You know, really give your figure dimension. Think about what it looks like from the side, not just the front. Look at the profile view. Pay attention to dimension within the form and the figure. All those little details. Yeah, I mean, all I did was carve out his armpits, and now he looks even more realistic. And I figured that out through looking at this photo. Sometimes we think we know what something looks like, but we really kind of piece things together in parts. Our brain doesn't have really the ability, unless you're super amazingly skilled artist, to sculpt the figure without any reference and have it be completely realistic. In fact, most sculptors that sculpt the figure are actually looking at live models. So believe me, it's a lot easier to sculpt a three-dimensional form when you're looking at a three-dimensional form. We don't realize this because we're so used to looking at two-dimensional computer screens and phones that we learn a lot from looking at a real object or a real figure. our brain has to convert things when we stare at the screen. Just this arm still bothers me. I feel like it's too bendy, or it looks like Gumby arm. You know, I remember very specifically I was teaching drawing one, I think, one year, and I had all these still lifes set up in the classroom. And, you know, I had students rotating and working on different still lifes. And every time a group sat down, until I started, you know, making a rule about it, I would hear this, can I take a picture of my still life and then draw from my picture on my phone? And they're sitting right in front of the object itself. So there's this like really strong desire when you have this device to use it all the time for everything. But it's not going to serve you all the time. It really is important to look at things, real objects, and study real objects, three-dimensional objects, especially if you're studying sculpture. Because if you're a sculptor, you're not going to be, I mean, some sculptors sculpt purely on the computer and have someone else make their piece, but you have to be pretty famous to do that and have a lot of money. Frank Stella does that. One of those famous minimalist sculptor dudes that are still making work now. They do it all on the computer and then they have someone else make it for them. Okay, so now I'm working on the arm and the hand. I'm really trying to pay attention to where, when the arm is bent, where is that crease? Does it exist inside? Where's the elbow? Those are the things I want you to consider when you're carving. I don't necessarily expect you to get into extreme detail like fingers and stuff like that, but I also, if you're feeling like you really want to try, I wouldn't dissuade you. I really could work on this for another month. If I got that meticulous about it, I could carve on this for a month and add to it for a month. Hopefully in your lifetime you will get to experience what it feels like as an artist to completely devote yourself to that art form for a period of time. In grad school, I remember I was up in New Mexico for grad school, but I remember there were times where I didn't go home till 2 in the morning from my studio. I was in there from like 8 in the morning to 2 in the morning. You know, you get this, like, when you have that much time and focus to make art, you get into this like trance about it, this like hyperspace where you're just, that's all you think about and it's all you want to do, and you just go and make work, you know. And when you have that time and space to devote to it, amazing things can happen to your craft and your concept and your ability to really say what you want to say with your art. So if you guys want to be artists and that's what you want to do, I hope you get, at some point in your life, get the chance to do that, because it's pretty amazing. not just visual art, but whatever your art form is. Or whatever your passion is in life, right? Like if your brain loves math and science, I hope you have the chance in your life to devote that time and energy to really learning and growing in that. All right, so this arm feels pretty good to me now. I worked on it. I added more shoulder. I created a crease in the elbow. That took me like 10 minutes just to do that arm. I really should be working on her first and him last because he's in front. She's back here and he's in front, so I really should be carving on her first. I just kind of got interested in him because of his face. I'm not super happy yet with his face. I think he needs a lot more work. I feel like maybe his eyes are wrong or his nose needs more carving or something, but I'm going to let it be for now. All right, so I'm going to add some ears. I'll work for about 10 more minutes and then I'll wash my hands. Oh, sorry, let me see the chat here. I have a question. Oh yeah, sure. Mac, I can do a demo for a cube. I'd be happy to. So the first thing you want to do for a cube, are you there so that I know you can see my demo? Cool, okay. I'm gonna put this aside and I'll show you how to do that. I'm glad you asked. I'm just working away on this because I can and want to, but if you guys need me to do specific demonstrations on things regarding your pieces, please ask. All right, so what I would do today, Mac, is roll out a slab that's big enough to cut out all 6 sides of your cube. And then I would let it set up a little bit overnight, like leave it covered up, but like lightly covered, and then babysit it. And then let that cube get a little bit drier before you try to put it together because it's just going to collapse. Actually, there's 2 ways you can make a cube. The slab way or pinch pot paddle way. I think I'm going to show you the pinch pot paddle way because that's faster. Can you tell me in the chat, Mac, or just say it, how big you want your cube to be? In inches. I think because it's so tiny, it's probably be a lot easier to make it in a pinch pot. Did you hear my question, Mac? Each square is 2 by 2. Okay. Yeah, I think we should do pinch pot technique because it'll be faster and easier and more like ceramics 1 speed because you already know how to do the pinch pot hollow form technique. So just like you made your heart, you're going to make 2 pinch pots, and I would really make them kind of thick so you can carve your wheels into it. So don't pinch them too thin. I'd leave it about like 1/2 inch thick all around. It's going to take a day or 2 to get this right because once you paddle it, then you have to let it dry a bit, and then you have to just kind of scrape it more into a cube shape. Okay, we've got 2 halves. Score them. Just really is kind of the fastest technique to make any hollow form. Water. Tease them together. Pat it. And then take your finger and seal that seam. I typically go kind of in a diagonal pattern, and then I go back the other direction on top of that. Paddle it again. And then I would take your rubber scraper tool and spend a little time. Actually, use your table for this. I love using the table because it's fast. Just smooth it out on the table. Okay, so this is the part that's going to take a little work. So you want to start to form your cube just by tapping on the table. If you get any cracks while you're doing this, just seal them up, score them, and compress. And you don't want to pop it. You want to try it. It's going to want to belly out in the middle because of the trapped air, but that's what you're going to kind of scrape away later. So, you know, get it into as much of a cube as you can doing this, and then let it dry a little bit, just a smidge. And then you can take a scraper tool and you can actually scrape it more into a cube. You can even do it a little bit now. And then it's thick enough at this point that if you wanted to do a little bit of carving of your wheelchair, now you could do that. Okay, so there's your cube. Do you have any questions? That's about 2 by 2. You're welcome. I think what I'll do is I'll let that dry a bit, and the next time I see you, if you have any more questions, I can add to it and help you with the rest of it. Does anyone else need me to demo something that they're trying to make that they're struggling with? Speak up or put it in the chat. I got 5 more minutes. I can do a demo of something else. Okay, so I'm going to use that 5 minutes to carve on my figure a little bit. I think I'll just make a pass over everything here. Whoops, I've got my stand. Just carve up a bunch of stuff. This is where we start to refine. You can always add more clay if you need to. Carve and add, add and subtract. I'm going to remind myself that I wanted this figure to be thick. I don't want her to be skinny, so I'm not going to carve away too much. I'm just trying to add some definition and separation. In fact, I might even add some more weight to her. Maybe it folds between the arms or rolls on the belly. One of the my figure drawing class in college, I remember one of our favorite, and this was like a consensus across the board for the class. One of our favorite models was a woman that was fairly large. She was really fun to draw. Lots of things to focus on and draw. I feel like this right shoulder is too big, or maybe it's just tilted up. Need to make that more obvious. Remember, as you're carving, to brush that stuff away. You find that if it really creates a pile of shavings, then all of a sudden that pile becomes stuck together, and then you have to carve it off. It's like you have to double carve. Like right here, there's a bunch of shavings that have squished themselves into that corner, and now I have to carve them off. So you want to avoid that. This is the point at which I start really thinking about how I want to glaze her, because the texture that I put on her is gonna, the way I glaze her is gonna matter. The texture is gonna matter. So this is my time to really ponder that and make decisions. Do I want her to be shiny, smooth, bumpy texture? Do I want glaze pooling and breaking? Do I want multiple colors? Am I going to carefully glaze her, or do like a multiple dump of glazes? Like, how am I going to do it? What do I want her to look like? I'm sort of, my style is kind of like contrast between the two. Certain areas are nicely like refined and glazed, and then on top of that I might dump something that drips over it. The purpose of conserving your energy and time, you might want to think about what's the emphasis of your sculpture? Which parts do I have time to carve in detail, and which parts can I leave more raw? You need to choose. Unless you want the whole thing to be very highly detailed, you need to make a intentional decision on where I'm going to put my emphasis. For me, it's going to be in their faces of the goddess and the child and both foxes. That's going to be my emphasis. And I could sort of go in and out of detail with the rest of it. I wouldn't mind it if her feet and her hands had a little bit of detail, fingers, and I think those types of things really can make a sculpture pretty special. Okay, I'm gonna go wash my hands and want you guys to kind of do the same, you know, stand back and take a look at your sculpture and go wash your hands and get your phone out. Take a whip picture. Remember that your whips are always due by the end of class. No more late whips counted. And then get ready to do your checkout. Your checkout is also politically themed. Just one more plug for finding times in your life to really focus on your art. I will say this in all honesty, that the older you get, the more responsibilities you have, and you have to try harder and harder to carve out time for yourself and your art. Now is your time to really enjoy making art, so don't waste it. Okay, so much more work to do, but I feel somewhat accomplished. I carved his face. I did some carving of her upper body, all around her body. I'll probably add some more girth to her later and even up her arms. This arm feels thicker to me than that one. Carved around the sides of the trees, refined this back area more. So yeah, it's getting closer. Before you clean up and wrap this up, carefully scoop all your, in fact, you can get rid of this paper on the edge. You don't really need it. All you need really is the paper under the sculpture. And out of respect for your family's home space, try your best to get these scraps in the trash and not all over the kitchen floor or the carpet. Best studio practice is to clean your studio between sessions, so that when you get back into the studio you don't feel crazy. Oh my God, I don't want to work in there because it's a mess. I'm still letting this dry out a bit, but I am going to go in and maybe add a tiny little bit of water to the areas that I still kind of want to work on, just so they don't dry out too much. Like I want to carve the tips of these trees. I don't want them to dry out too much. Before I wrap her up, I'm just going to do some spot hydration. Those little fox ears for sure. Don't want those to break off. His little feet. Her feet. Maybe the fox faces. Maybe her face. I'm not quite done with her face yet. Okay, I'm really excited to see your whips, guys. Wash your hands, take your pictures, post your whips, and do your checkouts. I'm going to wrap her up, go wash my hands, and come back and see what you posted. Please wrap them up good. Do not let them dry out yet. We don't want to ruin our sculptures in the very last stage of working on them. Still babysitting them. Double wrapped. We only start drying them out when we're totally done. I'm going to save this little cube. Clean up your workspace, wrap up your clay. All right, there's only a minute left, so I'm gonna check out what you guys posted. I'm gonna go look at your comments too, and maybe I'll kind of make some comments as well. Faces are hard. You definitely want to look at my demo, because Elizabeth, I just did a demo on the face. Okay, we're working on realistic human proportions, guys. So if you're struggling with that, you need to look at some pictures of some bodies, some real bodies. Okay. Remember, there's one fantastical element to each figure, but the figure should be human realistic. James, I see your sense of humor there. Oh, that's great. That's really good gesture and body proportion right there. There you go. Nice figure proportion. Good. Okay, everybody's assignment. Wow, look at that texture, you guys. That's beautiful. Okay, I know you have to go. I'm going to just keep flipping through here. You guys are dismissed. Wow, that's incredible, Katie. Lovely detail. Yeah, your homework is to bring a picture, a figure, photo of a figure that is in the same position. That's great, Naomi. As yours, and you're going to use that to compare your proportions next class. Hydrate your pieces if they're getting dry. All right, you guys, thank you. I'll see you. I won't see you till next week. So have a wonderful weekend. Come to office hours if you need personal help. Oh, yeah, James, sure.
I had a ceramics dream last night.
What?
I had a dream where I was working on ceramics last night.
Yeah. That starts to happen. If you're working on clay a lot, you start to dream about it.
All right, because yeah, I never really happened before, so I thought maybe coming to you would help maybe because I've been working on my piece a lot and trying to make it as human looking as possible because it kind of looks like a boxy skeleton. But yeah, I had a ceramic stream last night. It was really weird.
Were you sculpting on your sculpture, or were you okay?
Yeah, or back in the classroom, I think. I think I was back in the classroom, or from what I remember, I was back in the classroom. I kind of miss having that space, but yeah.
Yeah, I know. I miss you guys being in the space too. I do. It'll happen soon.
I'd like to come fire a lot. I did a bunch of little stuff that I've been kind of working on because I have a bunch of excess clay that I can just kind of work with. And pretty much, are we going to be using the rest of our bags of clay, or are we going to come do another pickup where we pick up more? Because I have a lot of clay left over.
I'm being pretty conservative about it, but your final will probably be big. We'll probably use the rest of the clay that you have for your final.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm hoping to make it that one a little bigger.
Cool.
Thank you. You're welcome. Keep dreaming about clay. It's a good thing. All right, bye, you guys.
Bye.
I just have to laugh at this. So the ceramic students are sculpting the new figure right now, and so it's really awkward to look through everybody's wits because they're like giant, boobs, like. Anyways, James, I don't know how I'm gonna deal with this. He's sculpting this male figure, right? And it's like the creature from the lagoon who comes out of the ocean, right? And he's got starfish all over his body. But he takes a shot of the piece, the crotch is right in the shot, and he put a big starfish on the crotch. And the starfish has a smiley face. And it's like, do I say something? Do I ignore it? I'm like, I just laughed and they said, "That's funny, James," and then I just went to the next one. And then and then at the end of class he put in the chat, "Hey, can I speak to you one on one this coming year in this section of class?" Sure. But I started talking to him before everybody else left because I didn't want it to be awkward. And he told me he was dreaming about ceramics. He was like having dreams about sculpting the piece and being out in the classroom. Yeah, so awkward moments with high school students. Yeah, it's probably it's like one of his only outlets, He's just he's funny. I think that's good. Yeah, he's hilarious. Yeah. All right, see ya. Hi, everyone. Hello. How's it going? Good afternoon. All right, so go ahead and log into your Schoology. Make sure your camera is on. And say hi to someone. And do your check-in.
I know, yeah.
Hello, Mackenzie. Hi, Joshua. Hi, Abigail.
Hello, Mrs. Grittinger.
Good morning or good afternoon.
Oh, sorry, good afternoon.
I always say good morning. It doesn't matter what time of day it is. I don't know why. It just kind of comes out of my mouth. All right. So today is Tuesday. I wanted to remind you, as I'm sure all your teachers have been this week, that you do not have class on Friday. Friday is a teacher work day. So that means we do not have this class on Friday. So today is our only in-session day together during the week. And we're going to be talking about a new project. So first thing I want you to do is do your check-in. And you're just going to search up charcoal drawings. Okay, so I just want you to post a picture of a charcoal drawing. That's the only rule, is that it has to be done with charcoal. So let's see what you guys have. This cute dog, nice texture, good shading on that lily. Ooh, I like that eye. Can see a reflection of something in the eye there. Very nice. So charcoal can be really very realistic. So I'll give you guys until 2:03 to finish finding that image and posting it. All right, let's see what else do we have here. Ooh, I like this one. That's beautiful. The hair looks so soft and fluffy. I love the way that they've taken that eraser and kind of erased out the highlights. It's beautiful. Wow, that's a big eye. You can tell how large it is, the scale of the hand. Neat. Cow. Apple. Good texture on that apple. Whoops, I don't think I have access to that link, Otis. You might want to try that again or take a screenshot. Wow, look at this. So charcoal comes in a lot of forms. We're going to talk about the different forms today, but I gave you guys a stick of charcoal, which is called compressed charcoal. But you can also buy charcoal in pencil form, and you can really refine it and kind of sharpen it and get really detailed stuff with this technique. A lot of charcoal artists have a lot of different tools to blend and tools to erase as well. All right, I'll give you one more minute to post your check-in. Ooh, the tiger. I like the cross-hatching in the background. There's two tigers. Ooh, look at this realistic. That's beautiful. Okay, this is Something I love about drawing is that you can decide which part of your drawing is realistic, and then the rest you can make very abstract. That's gorgeous. Cute giraffe. I drive by the Land Park Zoo every day to get to the freeway, and I see the giraffes. They're right on the edge of the zoo, on the corner. So sometimes if you look hard, you can see their necks and their their heads walking around. I always look for them. I always say it's a really good day when I get to see the giraffe. Wow, look at this guy. I can't open this bigger, but again, really, really nice focus and detail on the face, and then the shoulders and the clothing is a little bit more abstract. You can see the pencil marks. Nice eagle. I don't know if this is charcoal. It looks like lead to me, but it could be. Wow, you guys, look at this Einstein. Isn't that amazing? Look at the textures. Wrinkles around his eyes, his famous mustache, his famous hair, even the texture in his jacket. That's gorgeous. I like this dog. It's really quite challenging to use charcoal to draw things that are really black and really white. So like this black retriever, this dog here, his fur is all black, but he's got reflections that are probably a varying grays and whites. And like this one, this dog here. Nice. Okay. Let's do one more refresh and see if we have any more. Oh, the shadows in this one are beautiful between her hair and her face, and the highlight of her hair. That's gorgeous. A lion, a rose. It's nice. It's got some good sketchiness to it. And here's the Einstein again. Cool. Okay. So get ready, guys. If you need to, you can take some notes. It's not required, but if it helps you focus, I would encourage you to do that. We're going to be talking about our very first project in this class. It's going to be a drawing with the charcoal, and you're going to be using a technique called additive and subtractive charcoal method, and you're going to be choosing a famous visual artist to do a portrait of. So we'll go through and we'll look at examples of this, and we'll talk about some of the elements that you're going to need and techniques you're going to need to learn to make this drawing happen. Okay, so reminding you, we just talked about the elements of art and the principles of design. So just a quick reminder of the 7 elements, because you're going to be using some of them in this drawing. Line, texture, form, shape, space, value, and color. I'm going to do a quick pause here to record this session.